Hey, you guys, and welcome back to Out the Dark. I'm LaCrystal Bradley,
I'm Tiana Roberts.
and you already know we are talking about all things stepping into the light. So, this week's episode, the main topic is what does it mean to surrender? Because when we talk about stepping into the light, you have to be able to surrender to do that. Like, surrender to God, surrender your will for His will. So, we're going to talk about what that looks like for us and what we feel like God is calling our audience to surrender as they step into the light. So, T, when I first was like, okay, we're talking about surrender, and I was like, God is like, ordering the steps of a good man are ordered. Like, what did your mind like initially take you to? Like, what did you think about?
Separation. Because
Mm,
with surrenderance comes separation from a person, place, a thing, an old mindset, old habits. So separation was the first word that came to my mind. And even in my own personal journey, separation.
mm.
What about you?
That's so good. That's so crazy that you said it. I'm telling you, like all of this year, God just been like confirming His word to me, just confirming His word, and that is just wow. Okay, so separation. That's deep. But when He first told it to me, like surrender, the first thing I thought about was the conference. I'm like, am I hearing this because the conference coming
Yeah.
up? Sarah's conference, and her theme is surrender. So I'm like, am I hearing this that we're talking about this now? But prior to her even mentioning what the theme of the conference was, late last year, I was hearing surrender, surrender, and I was telling a few of my friends like, I've been hearing God say surrender, 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 and in February, he was like really talking about it. And then a little bit later, I heard that's what she announced the thing for the conference. But when he told me surrender, I was like, yeah, that really goes with stepping into the light because you have to, like I said earlier, you have to be able to surrender, put down your will for God's will, because sometimes our wills may not align. But when you're walking this life out and you saying, I trust you, God, you're pretty much saying, I surrender. So when I sat down with myself, the first thing I thought about was trust. Because in order to surrender to somebody, you have to be able to trust them. I mean, I'm not going to be out here just surrendering to know anybody. You know what I mean? So if you don't trust them, and I feel like God is saying, okay, I want you to surrender, but I also want you to trust me. Um, and so for him to say surrender, it made me question, like, okay, God, what area do you feel like I don't trust you in? Like, what are you magnified in my life that I need to uproot in order to fully show up into the light? Because clearly you're telling me this for a reason. Because we know that God is just multidimensional. He don't just tell you something just to do it in the moment. It's something else that He want to uproot. So as I began to like just meditate on that word surrender and how did trust align with it, I really realized like it last season or two, it was something God told me to do that I didn't do. And it triggered back all the way into um okay, Krista, maybe you're not really surrendering like you said that you are. Maybe you don't really trust God like you said that you are. And it's like He's never given me a reason not to trust Him. He's never not showed up for me, even in the unknown when He tell me to step out on faith and to do something. And so in order to surrender, you have to have faith, you have to be able to trust, and you have to be able to surrender. That all is like the ingredients to me of movement, stepping into the light. Like faith requires all of those things. And so, like I said, I looked back and was like, oh my God, I did not, you know what I mean? That was a level of unbelief, pretty much. I mean, I'm going to call it what it is. Clearly, that's what it was. And so, um, just looking back, I was like, oh God, spin the block one more time. I'm ready this time. You know what I mean? Like, give me another opportunity. And so I repented for that. And he was like, I'm going to see. We're going to see what you're going to do. But this time, I really want you to surrender because we had our faith conference this week, my church. And Dr. Mike Moore said, delayed obedience means delayed manifestation. The longer you wait, the longer it takes. And when I tell you that word was just boom, 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 because I was like, ooh, it's, ouch and amen, because I mean it applied. But so when I feel like God saying surrender, I really think He want us to fully trust Him. I think He really want us to do as the word says in Proverbs 3:5 and 6. It says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not into your own understanding." That is really what trust. Like, you have to be able to trust. Trust is the foundation, to me, in order to surrender.
And I love that you said like faith, trust, and surrender, because when you think of the triangle, and that
Hmm.
sometimes on the triangle it's like the mind, body, soul, and everything plays a part regardless of which point you start.
Yeah.
Everything back to the same thing. And that's
Hmm.
kind of what I thought of when you said faith, trust, and surrender, because it's like it takes, regardless of where you start. I, I don't even I don't even want to hit each point, but regardless of where you start or where God has you at in the moment, it's all for His purpose and His plan for your life.
Hmm.
And right before we got on this, I because when I think about surrender, I think about Abraham, and I
Mm.
went and read Genesis 12 a little bit up until verse 5, and it talks about how Abraham was 75 when God told him to leave his land, his
Yeah.
relatives, leave everything. Imagine being 75. You are comfortable where you are. Mentally, you got everything you need, family, everything. It's like, what else? I'm content with where I am. Not saying that Abraham was, I'm just generally speaking, if you're a human being in this day and age and you're 75. And God says, okay,
Right.
I want you to leave. It's time to surrender everything where you at, and I want you to go. Imagine that. Imagine that. And Abraham trusted God, and he had faith in the fact that God didn't say, I'm going to take you to this specific place. He said, I'll take you to a place that I will show you. So he
Mm.
was walking by faith, not by sight, which God will do so that way we can continue to trust him along the journey.
Yeah.
And he had to surrender everything that he knew. His family, he had to leave them, what, everything. So
Hmm.
when you say faith, trust, and surrender, I see how all of those things play a factor in us being able to truly walk with God and trust God and step into who He is calling us to become.
Yeah. Yeah, and even what you said about separation, that requires separation, because you don't want the people in your ear saying, "God told you that? Oh, you sure? Oh, you sure?" And that creates doubt. And just like you said, the story with Abraham, he called him from among his father home, amongst his family. And like you said, he said, "I'm going to take you to the land that I'll show you." So he was separating him. He told him, "Just take your family." And then the
Mhm.
thing about it, that is so crazy that you mentioned that scripture, because the first night of the faith conference, that Monday, Dr. Moore, I'm telling y'all, that was a powerful conference. You don't go to like faith conferences often. But so Dr. Moore was like, in that chapter, because he talked about Abraham as well. And he was like, if you notice in the beginning, God never told Abraham to take Lot with him.
Mhm.
His Abraham's father did. And if you look back and you read the story, like, Lot caused a lot of this confusion. But
Mhm.
had he been obedient and left his family entirely, because God was calling him from a separation, he probably would have missed like that first little portion. He would have went through all of that. But so separation, like you said, is key. So you have to include that in there, because I feel like when we talk about flowers and things that grow, you have to die of your old self. That includes sometimes people and versions of a person that they may have known you to be. And so when you come back and you emerge this beautiful bloomed flower, you'd be like, I didn't even recognize you no more. Even family members will say that. So separation is key. It's not to say like I don't look, like um, I'm acting funny, but no, I got to get to what God want me to get. And sometimes, like I said, those voices in your ear can deter you, because when Jesus met with the lady at the woman at the well, he sent the disciples, to go get food. He knew what he was doing. He couldn't convey his message, I believe, to the lady had they been there, because of that judgmental outlook that they had. their minds were already preconditioned, and Jesus' mind was not. And so he knew what his mission was, and he knew she would probably wouldn't have opened up had they been still there. So I feel like separation is key, trust is key, um, obedience. Whatever he's telling you to do, just do it. His track record in your life, you gotta just reflect back on that. I feel like when God do something for me, I thank Him, I write it down, and I put a date on it. And I'm like, you kept your word. Every time He do it, I put a date on it, I write it down and say, oh, you kept your word. Because when tough time comes, which we all gonna have trouble, the Bible tells us we're gonna have trouble, but take heart, Jesus overcame the world. So it's like I write it down. So in those seasons where I don't feel like, okay, God, I'm nervous, but I'm gonna do it, or I got cold feet. You can look back on that and be like, okay, but your track record, you
Mm.
never failed me. You always, led me out through this valley. And I also feel like when I was like, okay, God, I need something, give me some scripture, behind this word surrender. And the first only thing I kept hearing all week was the steps of a good man are ordered. The steps of a good man are ordered. And so I was listening at I was scrolling on Instagram and I seen Pastor Keon talking about it, and he was like stepping. He was stepping. I was like, oh my God. And he was like, the steps of a good man are ordered. But he said it real briefly. What his message was about something else. And I was like, oh my God. Then I scrolled down some more. Pastor Torre, he was doing an analogy of stepping in his message. I was like, God, what is going on? And so I really feel like God is saying, if you surrender and you trust me, I have already ordered your steps. If I have counted the hairs on your head and I formed you before I put you in your mother's womb, I already know the beginning and the end for your life. I just need you to solely rely on me, to trust me, and to surrender to my will and walk this thing out. And so um, a key demonstration of surrender to me is demonstrating your confident, like a confident trust in God. That is a key factor in surrendering. T, do you have like any, I guess, I don't know, like advice or wisdom of what it looks like to surrender?
It hurt.
Ooh, what you say?
It hurt.
Mm,
There is a such as going through grief
mm,
from somebody not just passing away, but grieving people, grieving old ways of living. It's
mm.
hard. It is nothing about it easy.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna sugarcoat it, act like it is. It's hard to surrender. And it's not even always surrendering stuff that you can that's tangible. Like I said, it's surrendering ways of thinking, like surrendering false expectations of what you thought something was gonna be.
ooh, girl.
Like that for me personally. Cause it's crazy how in our mind we fantasize, especially as I don't know if it's just a women thing, female thing, I don't know, but just fantasizing and you just think something is going to be this and something's going to be that. You think your life is going to be this by this age, it's going to be this, and when it's not that, and you have to, or you're at a place where you're like, okay, God, I want to surrender this to you and trust you. It's hard
Yeah,
because it's coming to acceptance that what I thought was going to be isn't, or it's not going to happen the way in which I thought it was going to happen. Not saying that it won't, maybe just not how I thought. Um,
mm-hmm.
it's hard, and in the surrendering of that and grieving of that, also there comes beauty on the other end of that because God comes in and He does exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ever think or imagine, and giving us our heart if it aligns with His will and His purpose for our life. Um, but it's hard out here, and it hurts,
I'm
but
so glad that Mm. I'm so glad that you said that because, okay, so let me just tell you, your girl, my faith walk, when I used to be in my closet praying and God would show me a glimpse of something, I'd be like, oh, yes. I get out my closet like, raw, let's go. God, you about to do it today. And I would be sitting waiting on today to happen. And today never happened. Okay, it's some words from 2016, 2015 that I'm still actually waiting on um, to not return to him void, which I know it's not, but it's like I'm waiting, God. Here I am. But I had to learn patience. I feel like my relationship with God, when He tell me certain things, His word definitely. One time He told me, Crystal, my word has to mature, and as my word mature, you're going to mature. And so, when God tells us something, it's up here, and we have to go through the process to receive that word to be able to sustain the promise that and the word that He gave us. And so, looking back, hindsight, it's like, girl, you was not ready for half of the stuff that He was telling you that was going to take place, and some of that stuff still today I'm not ready, and that's why it hadn't came to fruition yet. But however, the process God is more concerned with than it is the promise. And so once I had to learn that, and I feel like I've matured to an extent in that area, which I do have my moments. I'm like, God, it's taking a long time, my guy. You know what's going on, but it's like, okay, I have my moment because that's exactly what it is, and then I get back to, okay, I'm not done in my process with this. So what else is it? What other layers do I need to uproot? And it's not a sometimes it's not a one and done. It's different. It's layers to different situations that God is trying to get or pull up out of you, and you can't rush it. That's another thing. So patience, I think we got to sprinkle that into our ingredients of surrendering, because, like you said, T, our timeline is not going to match God's timeline. The way we expect Him to do it is not the way He's going to do it. One thing He told me the other day was, "Why do people love to cover for me when I'm God?" And when he said that, I was like, ooh, that is true, because sometimes we hear a word from God, and when it takes too long, we decide to take it upon ourselves, like, okay, yeah, God is going to do it for me, but let me go and help Him out. Like, maybe He was going to give me this money, but now He not giving it to me in the time frame that I require, or that I expect. So maybe He want me to go take out this loan, or maybe He want me to go do this, and maybe He want me to go do that. No, we can't cover for God. If He said it, we have to trust Him. We have to surrender to His word. We have to be patient, and we have to sit there with ourselves, because sometimes you even have to separate from your own thoughts. Like you said, it's not always something tangible. It's casting down those imaginations that you have built. That impatient. You never know what the root of the thing is, the reason why God is making you wait. So, for whatever it is, His word to manifest. But if He said it, He's going to make good on His word. He's going to do it. And you have to surrender. And like you said, T, it's not going to always be pretty. It's not going to always feel good. But at the end of the day, it's going to happen.
Yeah. And I think another thing to just add with that too is like control. Because we, as much as we think, because I'm a person who I feel like I have to be in control.
Mm-hmm.
I've come a long way. But
That's,
control is only an illusion anyway. We really can't control as much as we can't control what we think we can, but
that's good.
because imagine we going down the road and we think we're in control because we're controlling our own car.
Mm.
But you can't control, and you think you got to where you think you got to your destination because you drove safely. But what about all the other cars around you? Everybody else had to be paying attention too, to not swerve over in your lane, or if they did, they had to, realize quick enough, oh, I'm in their lane, let me slide, let me get back over in my lane. Or something being in the road and you swerving over
Mm-hmm.
it and then not being in another lane. Like we're not really in control anyway, as much as we think we are. It's just an illusion. I don't
Mm.
know.
That's good. That control. I'm like that too. And when I was speaking on the thing God told me to do that I didn't do back here in the beginning of the year, it was like it's because I needed all of my questions answered. I needed to have some type of sense of security, and like you said, that controlling factor. If we trust God and we really surrender, you wouldn't have to know all of that. You would just step out on faith. You would just do and just do what needs to be done. And I feel like that probably was my problem, control. I just have to know. I just have and then it's so crazy because I have this saying, even before Out the Dark came about, I used to be like, God don't leave me in the dark. He'll tell me stuff. He do this, he do that. And yes, he do. But however, some things he don't say. And it just requires me to be able to trust him, you know, and my faith level to go to the next level and surrendering. And so just listening that you say that, that's me too, controlling. So we have to be able to, that is surrendering. I'm 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 in the passenger seat. You know what I mean? It's like, Jesus, I'm letting you drive. I'm letting you drive this car. Take the wheel. What they say, Jesus, take the wheel. So it's like I'm letting you do that, and I'm gonna be comfortable as a passenger princess. That is what this faith life is all about. Like this walk, you got to be comfortable with being a passenger princess.
And you know what,
Mm.
Crystal? What I have realized where I am now currently is how much more rest we find in surrendering. Because let's say if we are the ones who are in control, or we think we are anyway, we're in control and we make a mistake or we do something wrong, we there's um so much self-blaming that we do.
Mm-hmm.
Versus if we let God be in the driver's seat, we do what he say, regardless of if it produces, regardless of if the outcome is what we think in our head is supposed to be or not. As long as we are doing what God has told us to do, versus doing, what we think is
Mm-hmm.
right or what we think is control, and what we feel should be the next step. How much peace we find
Yeah.
and rest we find in God, knowing that he is ordering our steps, leading us and guiding us into whatever next looks like for us, versus if we're just trying to do it out of our own strength, which leaves us frustrated, weary, all of these things. Versus if we just trust God and walk in what he said, and find peace in him and in his word. It's so liberating.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. That's good. Hmm. The liberation, the rest, just the comfort of knowing like he is the good shepherd. He is who he say he is. Like you can be content, and I think that that's key. Um, you want to be obedient, but like you just have to just step out there, just jump out there blindly. Sometimes, I mean, all the time. He got you. He gonna catch you. And so I think like this was a good topic. So I feel like as we're stepping into the light, he's calling for us to surrender. Um, he wants us our undivided attention. He wants our total commitment of trust in him. Because y'all, I'm telling you, I was telling T the other day, I really feel like this stepping into the light, God is getting ready to give us, like, we're stepping into something big. I don't know if it's new purpose, uncharted territory. Like, I don't know exactly what it is, but I feel like 2025 is going to be something super super explosive. And right now is the preparation. Right now I feel like I'm supposed to be separated from a lot of different things. I'm supposed to be stepping into the light. This and showing up as another version of myself. So it's like I feel this unctioning going on inside of me, but I'm telling you, every time I think about what is stepping into the light, getting ready to produce for us in our individual lives, as well as like our spiritual walk, professional, I don't know. But I'm telling you, something is brewing, something is taking place. I sense it in the spirit, and I can't put my finger on it, but I know it's going to be big. So we have to take these every week, take these keys and this moment and really apply what each topic is, like really do the work of digging, really do the work of processing and becoming whatever it is that God is calling us to do, because something big is about to take place. I can't shake that feeling.
Hmm. So what would you say, Crystal,
Mm-hmm.
to somebody, um, to encourage them, when it comes to surrendering and stepping into the light? What would you say?
I would say what I read. Delayed obedience means delayed manifestation. If you are afraid to do it, don't delay yourself. If you want those promises and things that God has showed you, do it. Do it, do it, do it. Look back and think back on the times that he have brought you out of different places that you got yourself into. Or think back on a time when he told you to leave or to stay and you did the opposite of those things, but he still showed up and got you out of it. Time and time again, you can trust God. I would say you can trust him
Hmm.
fully. You can trust him. And like you said, even if it hurts, trust him anyway. He know our beginning and our end. Trust him anyway.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think I would say um, find encouragement in his word,
Mm.
find scripture to hold on to. And then I would say, I don't know what chapter it is in Hebrews where they talk about faith and they talk about, all of the different people who have faith and what areas they had faith in. Do you know exactly what chapter that is?
I
Do
think
you
it's 11. I'm not sure though.
Okay. I can't recall. But it's a chapter in the Bible in Hebrews that talks about different people and their faith. And I would say study that. And I would say surround yourself with people who understand that you are growing and becoming into a different version of yourself, and you're walking in whatever God is calling you to walk into, regardless of if you fully know it or not.
Hmm.
You need people around you who are faith filled just as much as you are, because
Yeah.
when you have those around you who just can't see it and don't have the faith, it's hard for you to want to keep pushing forward. You know in your spirit that there's more, but just the people you're surrounded with, they just don't get it. So connecting with people who are faith filled to continue to push you and encourage you when it does get hard and you need somebody to uplift you. That's what I would say. And
That's
pray,
good.
pray, 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 pray.
That's good. That's so good. And that's crazy that you said surround yourself with people that's full of faith. Because guess what? We have another guest getting ready to come on. This person was supposed to be on last season. Yeah, your girl been hard headed a few times at you, okay? But so this time we're definitely this person is coming. Um, I don't think it was like I think when he said it, that time would have been good, but I feel like this is the right time for this person to come on. So I'm excited. We're not dropping the name of the guest yet, but I'm excited for this guest. This is a super faith filled person. This person has had many, many, many testimonies of how God showed up, and I'm talking about life and death situations. So this is going to be a great, great, great episode. And this person is also um, a voice of reason in my life. I feel so. I'm excited, and we'll discuss it more as as the time goes on. So I'm excited for that. But I agree wholeheartedly with what you said about being connected with believers who are just full of the faith, because those type of people, they don't have to know the details, they don't have to know the plans. But if you be like, "Oh, God told me to do this," they if He told you to do it, why you not doing it? They hold you accountable. It's like that's a godly friendship. That's another type of level, and I feel like you definitely need to be surrounded by those types of people, um, and pray about God sending you those type of people, because you just don't want to just be around just anybody. Like pray and be intentional about the people that's in your ear, the wisdom that you take from different people. I just be praying now intentional about everybody in my life, because I be like, who sent you? Like my girl Amber be saying, who sent you? But I be saying that now about just everybody, because you just never know, and you don't want to get knocked off course. So I think that was really really good advice. Any last words, T?
You got it. You got this. We got this. That's all.
Yeah, that's good. So we will check y'all out next time. Until then, Surrender this week. Be intentional about seeking God's face for what He wants you to do as you step into the light, y'all. I'm telling you, this season is pushing us somewhere. As always, we love y'all. Until next time.
Yeah.